Let's. So, good evening once more. Welcome on this Zoom call. Welcome, John. I'm very pleased to meet you again over this Zoom. And welcome to our first guest. Hope that it was last guest, Irka. And the topic is simple. New book from John Horton, medical doctor, good to go. And I'm very pleased that we can open this discussion because I've met John, I would call it like 10 or more years ago when we've met over his works with Tim Galloway and Inner Game of Stress. And we were running some seminars about this even in Czech Republic. So it was great pleasure. And I was nicely surprised that John opened another chapter and wrote a book about this, I would say, serious topic, like the end of our lives. I was, in my mind, I was just joking to myself when we were waiting for other guests that maybe it's so serious that people are afraid. And maybe we could also take it as a question for John. Why is it so scared topic that people may be afraid? But before we jump there,
Yeah.
I'd just like to outline this evening. It's really an attempt to have a short discussion with questions and answers, and it may take like 30 minutes. It may take maximum an hour. If more people are coming, it may take even more. But definitely, we are planning for, let's say, next 30 minutes. I will be kicking off first question in a while. And just the last announcement that this is from the serious I call coaching Café. Definitely, it's not a serious regular one, but I'm trying to irregularly invite interesting people from my perspective and make some discussions around the table or with a coffee or something better in your hand and discuss topics we are interested in. So this is main aim for this meeting, and I hope that we will enjoy that. So welcome, John.
Thank you. Has it been 10 years? Has it been that long since I was
I
in
think
Czech
so.
Republic?
It's maybe more.
Oh, that was a wonderful time. I very much enjoyed being
Yeah.
with you and your colleagues there, and just having a chance to spend time in Prague. Such a wonderful city. I would
Yeah.
go back anytime.
So maybe you will come back to sign your book when it's translated into Czech.
There you are. I have another book I'm working on, which will be much more popular. No,
Yeah.
I joke. This is a very important book that no one's going to read.
But I'm at something like 80% in my Kindle.
Well,
Uh, I'm still
you're
amazed.
you're in the courageous group.
So at least you have one reader here.
No, people
I
people
will
that
be
have
the
read it.
second. I will be the second. Don't worry.
Oh, good, good, good. No, people that have read it, including some close friends and colleagues, really like it. But some of them have told me they bought it, and because they know me and they respect me, and they just put it down and they didn't pick it up for a long time. Many weeks or even months. It's been out for a while. And I understand that because the reason I wrote it is really because I had such a hard time as a young doctor, particularly in training in medical school and internship, to deal with death. To me, it was just horrendous. From a medical point of view, it was a failure. We should have done something to keep this person alive, even if they were really old or really sick. Secondly, it just brought up all these feelings of like, well, what's it all about? I mean, my God, I'm here. This time is going to go by. I'm going to die. And I think that to me is the essence of the book, is to bring out this need for what's now been called existential intelligence.
Mhm.
I'll fill you in on this. There's a professor at Harvard. Of course, I'm forgetting his name for the moment, but it'll come to me. I'm 81 now, so I get to forget things, but it'll come back. He's
Yeah.
a great professor of psychology and education, and he came up with the theory of multiple intelligences. Because if you say a student is a very intelligent student, he would say, well, in what area, and he had 8 of them for many years. And they're interesting because in all these areas of intelligence, you see prodigies. And I'm not going to name all 8 of them, but the obvious ones like, mathematics and music and movement and sports and communication and understanding other people and being able to make things. So recently he came up with a 9th, which he calls existential intelligence. And this is understanding what our existence is about. So death brings up necessity to gain some existential intelligence. Otherwise, it's just scary. And we fight it, or we run away from it, or we freeze. We just have stress reactions, in which there's no intelligence. There's just reactivity.
Yeah. Oh, I see another visitor coming. Okay, let's invite her. It's a colleague of mine, Jana. Okay, you even took my first question, because I was thinking, okay, what motivated you to write this book? Because I just made a quick search in Amazon, and it was like I think I put there something like death approaching or something like that, and I found out like 160 books about that. So I was thinking, okay, what was John's motivation to add one?
Yeah.
Ahoj, Jana.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So the motivation was to share the patients, because the book is stories of patients that showed up in my practice, who were dying and who I learned a great deal from. So there's a lot of there's just the intimate interactions there, which I felt was a better way than to learn something than just sort of teaching and preaching.
There's some background noise. Jana, maybe switch your microphone.
It's okay. It's okay.
Jenom, jestli si můžeš vypnout mikrofon, protože to je slyšet potom to okolí tvoje.
Jo, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Jana is in hospital, but I hope it's not so serious. She's getting better. I know. It was the operation, but she seems very good. So hopefully she's getting better. Yeah. So this was also what touched me much. Those stories. Yeah, because there is from my perspective, I didn't see many. I would call it educational things, but this education, or I would call it learning, came to me through those stories. So I liked it personally very much. And I was also thinking, okay, I think it's something worth to read. But still, John, why do you think it's important to take this subject?
Well, I can tell you, it gives you a great deal of strength and a great deal of peace if you can come to terms with the inevitability of dying, of leaving. Otherwise, you can just be afraid, and that fear is uncomfortable, and you can do things that are relatively foolish in approaching death. I mean, I've had people, they spend so much time and energy trying to be healthier and healthier and healthier so that they'll never die. And of course, it's futile. And then there are other people that they just freeze. I mean, I've had patients tell me, Doc, when I get close to death, just off me, okay? Just do something, okay? I don't want to. Who was it? I think it was Woody Allen. He said, I don't mind death. I just don't want to be around when it happens.
Give me some drugs and I will be okay.
Exactly. Just knock me out. Which is not terribly realistic.
Yeah. You mentioned fear, and it was another question in my mind, because you mentioned that several times in the book, but I don't remember. And maybe also for others, it's good to get a quick overview. You name it like a multi-headed dragon. So could you share with us some heads of those of this dragon?
Yeah. Yeah. One head is it's going to be terribly miserable, painful, unrelenting pain. So we can address that because, with good medicine, pain doesn't need to be a problem. Another one is that, I'm going to be filled with regrets. So one of the understandings I share is like, take the time, work through those regrets. It's not too early, people have bucket lists. They want to do this thing or that thing. So don't put it off if it's important. And maybe you should try and, make things better with your ex-wife who you feel still hates you, and try and do something about that so you're not carrying that. The one that is the most difficult is that you may feel that your life was futile. That it was just like, I haven't documented this, but I've heard it a few times that Beethoven, at the end of his life, was just miserable. He felt that it had been meaningless. Even though he was such an accomplished musician.
Yeah.
Those are, or that you'll be alone. You'll just be someplace alone, some hospital room, and you'll just be miserable.
Yeah. How about the hell?
About the hell, yeah. That's another one. Yeah. You're gonna go. Well, it might be for you, Mikhail. I don't know. Most we don't feel like we're going to hell. Yeah, certainly. That's for some people. If they come from a very scary religious background, they could feel like they're going to go to hell.
Yeah. Well, at least the fear of unknown, I would say.
Yeah.
What's going to happen then?
And the solution to that is, because the book has 5 understandings that you need, and the one that's it's described the last, but they're not linear. Is to be able to feel the peacefulness of existence. Okay, we came with that. I have a little granddaughter now, and if she's comfortable, she's not wet, if she's not sleepy, and if she's not hungry, she's so peaceful. She's so joyful. You just love to be around her, and you can feel that peacefulness in yourself. So we come fully embracing that. So the great achievement is to leave embracing that peace of existence. That's where the existential understanding comes in.
Yeah. When I went through the book and I was also reviewing it once more because I'm getting to the end, I was thinking, okay, what is my most difficult part? And I would come back to the chapter 1, accepting death. So what is here to help me somehow or coach me with accepting death?
Okay, well, all right. So coaching questions. So what is the alternative to not accepting that you're going to die?
Yeah, the denial or yeah.
So and I'm not even saying that's bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes denial is the best way to deal with something if it's of an overwhelming fear.
Yeah.
You deny it. Go on, it doesn't exist. But then what are you going to do when it catches up with you?
Yeah. No idea.
Idea. All right. So look, there's a really nice story in there. Probably you read it, and the coaching tools of Tim Galway. So I'll go over that story because I think it will be interesting to the other people. Remind you of it. So there was a woman that came to see me. She was young. She was only in her 30s. She'd been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 4 or 5 years earlier. And that can be a rapidly fatal disease, but in her case, it wasn't. In fact, the doctors made it clear to her that likely she would die of something else and she could live to a ripe old age. But every night she woke up in a panic. Absolutely, heart pounding and sweating, and it's like just terrified of dying. And she'd been to other doctors. They gave her tranquilizers. She didn't like them. She came to me for natural things. She'd already done all those things. So I said, let's try this exercise called the attitude exercise. And in this exercise, you try on attitudes to see what attitude suits you so that you feel good. Because attitude is very powerful. It drives thought and emotion. So in the exercise, you objectify the attitude so you can look at it together. So I said, okay, let's try on some dresses. And each colored dress will signify a particular attitude. So she was game for that. So we started playing with it, and I have a good imagination. So I said, okay, here's a white dress. You've been a good person, and when you die, you're going to go to heaven. How does that feel? She said, no, I don't know. I can't buy that. So no white dress. Then there was a green dress. We're in California, so when you die, your karma settles in, and if you've been good, you get a good karma. You come back at a good, She didn't like that green dress either. So then I said, well, here's a black dress that when you die, you're annihilated. There's nothing left of you. And in that moment, the terror came out fully. Mm-hmm. And she said, that's exactly what my father told me. He was a physicist. And anyone that believes anything different is a fool. So it was like, whoa, this is deep in her being, this feeling of just annihilation. That's very hard to look at. No wonder she woke up in terror. So I threw out another dress. And I said, this is a nice, I said, what's your favorite color? She said, I like yellow. Okay, so this is a yellow dress. This is like, since you've been alive, there's been something that's kind and gentle that's been keeping you alive. And it's been there in the good times, and it's been there in the bad times. And sometimes in the worst of times, you feel this kind, gentle feeling that, you can be conscious of. So it was there in the beginning, and let's say at the end, it's going to be there with you, and you're going to go somewhere else. Big smile. So I said, okay, so now when you wake up at night, try and put on the yellow dress, see if you can take off the black dress. And she succeeded very quickly. Within a week or two, she was no longer waking up in panic. So it's nice to be able to work with yourself, to find a place where you can be at peace with yourself and with the inevitability of dying.
Thank you. So how about our visitors? Any questions from your side?
Please.
Yeah, no, Mirka?
So far I have no question, but anyway, it's super interesting, and I have to be honest, and I had no preparation for this meeting. I just catch the recommendation from the association of the coaches, which is always a good recommendation. So I try it, and it's amazing. John, thank you very much. It's amazing. I will search for the book and I will read it, because it's a topic that is really special. No many people are speaking about it, and it's a very important thing, I believe.
Yeah, Mikhail said, there he Googled it, and there's like 179 books. There's a lot of books, but they're all like to-do books. This is more in the spirit of coaching to help you to be reflective and see your choices and see how you want to approach something, not someone tell you.
Yeah, great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. It was also what touched me quite intensely, because I honestly said I wasn't searching about this field many or long time. I was just touching this point through my psychotherapist training, and I was thinking, okay, it's something. I am in the second half of the life, even after this borderline, I would say. So maybe I should also somehow search and get better view or understanding of this field. So I took this book as a chance, and we planned this call. And I was saying, okay, I will read it through before the call, because it would be better. and I was touched deeply, and I was thinking, I even don't know if there is this kind of a book, which is, I would call it, which is from the perspective of the client, if I may say. Yeah, because I've seen many books like how to be care of people who are dying, how to help them, yeah, how to be a hospice worker, etc. But this kind of the book is for me kind of nice because it's from perspective of me facing, for example, serious diagnosis or something like that. And I can imagine that doctors don't have many advice on that. Yeah, so I also think that this is quite very useful topic because okay, how is it doing? Okay, it's here. So what shall I do? How could I approach how could I approach this end or transformation? Doesn't matter how we call it, but this is something covered with fear. I would also say it's somehow hidden, yeah, not very publicly opened. I think that we've started in Czech Republic here just recently with some education at schools about this topic, but I don't think it's um, very often it's somehow open. So I'm very grateful for this book, and yeah.
Thank you, Mikhail. One word you said, which really struck me, and I think it's at the core of it, is transformational. Can I mean, I'm working with a woman now that was just diagnosed with a very bad illness, and we've had 2 conversations now, and it is transformational for her. It's bringing her to a deeper sense of her life, because the strength of accepting dying is it makes each day a little more precious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best way to find the preciousness of life is to have a bad diagnosis. It would be better to find the preciousness of life but it's definitely a catalyst. You might, I don't know if you know this. Most people don't know this. I didn't know this until I met Michael Kearney, who's a palliative care specialist, an Irishman. He wrote a book called The Healing Place. And he makes the point that in Greece, there were 2 schools of medicine. One was Hippocrates, which we all know, and that was to diagnose and treat. But then when they couldn't succeed, and obviously back then they didn't succeed as much as we do now, except inevitably we don't succeed. And we live a lot longer than people did back there. And we've, knocked out many diseases, but still death comes. So they had another school of medicine in Greece called the Asclepian school. And that was to help people to come to terms with dying. And it was like psychotherapeutic, and they had their own places. I mean, they may even, what's becoming interesting to me now is that we have the psychedelic platform becoming more available in the United States, and still mostly underground. But it's amazing because some people have had very traumatic lives, very difficult lives. And as they approach death, they don't have the energy to push aside all of these bad feelings and just the results of trauma, whether it's neglect or abuse. And you can help them as they approach dying to resolve that, so they can feel that peacefulness, they can feel that goodness of existence.
Yeah. I'm thinking that it's touching also the subject coaches are, I would say, if I may say, happy about, that we are touching something we could call inner potential or inner wisdom. And I think this is something which also at this phase of life should be somehow uncovered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you can accept that, you're going to go through this challenging time. Everyone wants to just die quickly. I just hope, I'll just, walk out one day, fall down and hit my head, die. Great. I mean, if that happens, it's great. But for most of us, it doesn't happen that way. You have to be prepared for the challenge. But you're right. The inner wisdom, that's That's what the book is about, really. And me, the gift of these people that came into my practice, that I was able to experience and appreciate from them, from their experience. I wasn't teaching them, again, coaching. They were coaching me in a sense.
Yeah.
John, may I ask what is the right age to read your book, let's say? Yeah? What's your recommendation? Because I believe it's not just for those who are in the final stage of their lives, but what's your opinion about that?
That's a really good question. I think when someone becomes interested, it may just emerge from them. It could be a teenager. Teenagers get interested in death, or because someone around them, is very sick. There's a film I saw once. I thought it was going to be just a teenage drama. It was called Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. And it was about this boy who's in love with a girl who has a terminal cancer. And Earl is his friend who's videoing them, her process. And it's powerful because at some point she says no more chemo. It's devastating and it's not going to help. And these are teenagers. These are like 15, 16, 17. And he can't handle that. He becomes really, really upset because he doesn't want her to die. But she's like, no, this is my decision. Because that is one of the principles of the book, one of the understandings. You get to do it your way. You got to be true to yourself with this. And so she does die. And what's charming is the relationship of love that he felt with her, because they had a very sweet love. It wasn't a sexual thing. It was a tender love. It grows, it evolves. And that's true of some people. When their loved one dies, the love continues, because the love is something that's, what to call it? Let's call it divine. Let's call it, one of the great gifts of our existence is our ability to feel love. So I think
it's amazing. Yeah, and it's true actually, even for teenagers. And if I can remember myself as a teenager, for the first time I was interested in these things, and I was reading book like Mr. Moody's Life After Death, stuff like this. So that was something in 90s, and it was actually for Czechoslovakia at that time. It was something new because, of course, we were close in the communist regime, and anything spiritual was not allowed. So definitely that was one thing that I just remembered when you were speaking about teenage. And then another thing, another story, actually, the love story, the book, and the movie, then, if you remember, from I think it's late 60s love story about the guy loving also a girl at university. He was playing ice hockey, and she died by cancer as well. And that was like very touching story, and the book was a bestseller, and that was actually opening this topic as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with you. When that interest shows up. So for you, it showed up with Moody's book, and I'm sure that that's deepened your sense of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even noticed some kind of meditation. That if you meditate about being dead, it may kind of enhance your daily life.
Yeah, it sounds like a Buddhist kind of thing.
Yeah. But I also would like to mention one expression or image you are using in the book, and it's very nice, or it touched me quite nice, and it's this logic with the birth similar to the death, and this is very nice.
Yeah, no, I love that one, because being a doctor, general doctor, I've seen births and I've seen deaths, and there's a little story in there that I was teaching well, trying to coach the hospice volunteers, people that are going to be spending time with people that are dying. And I would ask them a question. First question was, how many of you have been present at a birth right there? And some raised their hands. Maybe there's 20 people there. How many of you have been present at a death right then when the person is leaving? Okay, raise their hands. So I say, now this question is only for those that raise their hands for both occasions. And then I would just be quiet for a little bit. I want you just to reflect on what was the feeling, not what was in your mind, your thoughts, because obviously the thoughts are going to be extremely different. But what was the feeling in your being, in the room, the visceral feeling? And you see this little smile. It's like, yeah, it's the same, because you've experienced some great mystery. Because we become alive, and then in the body, and then we leave. But the energy of life is it can't be destroyed. The consciousness behind it all is a great mystery, but it can be felt. Can't be understood in our heads.
Wow, amazing, huh? Mm.
I think it's very nice image, at least from my perspective. I like it very much. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
And I think that if anybody else has a question, we can ask, or even it's nice thought for the end. Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe, John, I would like to ask you about the book itself. It was published in the US, and do you plan to publish it somewhere else as well?
Well, it's a good question, because these days to get a book out there, you have to pretty much self-publish. So you get a little bit of
Okay, yeah.
a small company. So they don't have the capacity like a big company. Okay, we'll get it translated into. I mean, I wrote another book with Tim Galway called The Inner Game of Stress, and that's been translated into a lot of different languages, because Random House is a big publishing company. So I don't know. I mean, at some point, I'd like to maybe, because the book has been successful, and maybe a big publishing company might like it. But they feel that there's too many books about death on the market. That's what my literary agent said. And she said, no, too many books. But possibly, I mean, if Mikhail decides he wants to translate it or find someone.
Yeah, I was thinking about
I
it.
would be very enthusiastic about that.
Yeah. I hope that with all the technology we have, like ChatGPT, maybe he will help me with the translation.
Actually, I have a friend who translates. She's Chinese from Taiwan, and she said that ChatGPT can translate a whole book in a matter of minutes, and it's not that great. But then the translator can go and fix it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So it's kind of a big deal, but not so big as if you had to translate it word by word manually, let's say.
Yeah. Then you just need to figure out how to publish it. But there's lots of small publishing companies that they're happy to do it. They're not expensive.
Yeah. So definitely, it's in my mind, and
good.
I will be thinking about that, because I would love to have it in Czech.
Yeah, that would be a great excuse to come back to Prague.
Yeah, definitely. Book signing.
Yeah. And, enjoy
maybe some workshop.
And the good food, and you.
And workshops for people interested in this subject.
Yeah.
Hopefully not only two.
Well, hospice, hospice training programs, and hospices they do for their staff and volunteers. So that would be a good niche.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's starting even in Czech Republic now. I heard a very nice interview with a doctor in a Czech radio about palliative care. That is now they are trying to introduce it in big hospitals, and they really think about the last needs of these patients, and they are trying really to approach this topic from a different perspective, because so far it was not somehow reflected. Yeah, it was usually the doctor, the specialist, just told the results and let's say the scary diagnosis, but there were usually no special care for these people. And now it's starting. There is a team of specialists that they are really taking care of the patient from the psychologist's point of view, yeah? And from the more kind of palliative care point of view, and they are trying to settle the last thing of these people, yeah. And I think for these teams would be this book really great, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's starting. It's not completely implemented, but it's starting in some good hospitals. It's starting this new approach, and I think this is completely in this direction, yeah.
That's good to hear. And one thing nice about the book is that there are so many stories. You know, some of them are very short, some of them are longer, but it covers so many different situations. And because they were spontaneous, you know, and they weren't taught to me, they have that, I don't know what you call it. I mean, again, it goes back to the coaching thing of, you know, the discovery, the process of discovery rather than, you know, the concept.
And I think, Michal, if you manage to translate it, would be great, because I don't think that we in Czech Republic, we have so many books about that, and especially not good books about that. And I can imagine that still the good palliative care is still not available in most of the cases. Yeah, and if at least one person would help it, it's worth to do it. It's worth to translate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that can happen. I would be happy to collaborate in any way. I don't know what that would look like, but certainly be very happy to do that.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm about it. I just will have to really get a bit deeper understanding of this field, because it's kind of a hobby for me. But still, I think that there are many books published even in Czech language. But I would really try to find out, let's say, if I may say, market position, because really, if there is, I think there is this is great niche, but I don't know. I should do some research about it. So definitely I'm taking it seriously. I hope that this dream will happen, but I can't say now. Yeah, I'm just on it simply.
Let me, you know, in that regard, niche, you know, marketing, advertising. I mean, I know zero about that. So, and here, you know, to do that, I would have to take a lot of money out of my pocket to get people to do that, which I'm not able to do at this point. But one of the stories in there was so transformative. The story of Robert Young. I used his real name because he was the actor that played The Father Knows Best and Marcus Welby. In my, you know, youth, arguably, you know, the best doctor and the best father, but very troubled man, alcoholism, suicide attempts. But at the very end, he wasn't dying rapidly. He just he had heart disease, and then he developed dementia. But he had a wonderful daughter. He had a nice, charming little home just up the street from my office. And we watched him just go through such a deep healing, letting go process. He became so transformed that at the end, he was in such deep peace. It was amazing. It's a beautiful story. It's in the book. So that transformed me because, you know, in a sense, you know, I could never be as good a doctor as Marcus Welby, TV character. And no one had a father as good as Father Knows Best. So we're all disappointed. But at the end, the peace that he felt, that you felt like, okay, that's it. I mean, to come to that peace, that has to be some part of the deeper purpose of life.
Yeah. It's great closing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll keep
John,
in touch.
thank you very much.
We'll keep in touch.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. You have
It
something
was
to- you haven't said anything.
Thank you. Interesting topic. I'm not prepared, and
Okay.
I'm not good connection. But thank you, thank you. Interesting film nowadays in Czech. It's Mystery of Death, and
I've seen it.
it's 1 week in cinemas, and it is the same topic. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, thank you very much. It was really great meeting you, hearing your inputs, and I'm looking forward to the book. Yeah, and thanks a lot because it's really great thing for a lot of people, I believe.
Someday we'll meet in person in Prague.
Yeah, definitely. If you are in Prague, let us know. Michal,
yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Let's stay in touch and let's organize something. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have
Thank
a
you.
nice
you very
day
much.
or evening, whatever. Where are you? Morning.
Great. Thank you very much.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.